All right, let's try this again, guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. All right. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions.
Well, I will do my best to answer as many as I can. If not, we got the community here to help us out.
All right.
This is Frank. I'm out of questions. I'm new. So we'll be hitting you with a lot of questions today, it sounds like.
Well,
all right.
We just got everything set up last night, and we started going through the configuration, and it was responding. But when we got to the Z-axis configuration, the sled just dropped off the wasteboard, and I couldn't get it to go. I couldn't get the Z-axis to do anything, and the sprockets just wanted to turn in one direction down.
So you probably have your cables backwards. You probably have your X and Y and Z mixed up. So you probably have one of the your X or Y on your Z.
Okay. Well, I'll mute and I'll try switching those.
Yeah, double check because it seems like it would be like the middle one for the Z. And I forget. Just look on the shield, and it'll give you the. I've done that a couple times accidentally too, and now I've gotten to the point where I realize we have a bunch of them. Like, crap, that's exactly what. But
Okay. Let me try that, and somebody else can ask a question.
Hello?
Sorry, guys. I had to mute. Mike Hill. Sorry about that, guys. If you have a question, Mike, you can probably still hear us. Go ahead and just put it in the chat.
Hello?
Hello, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yes.
All right, awesome. No, I had to mute Mike Hill because it was in the background. It was real bad. All right, what other questions you got?
Okay, well, this is Frank.
Hey, Frank.
I just recently bought the M2 system, and actually I'm still trying to put it all together. Got it yesterday. So my questions are more, where can I find resources to be able to determine what I need to do after I get it all set up? I've obviously downloaded the assembly guide and the frame guide, so I've got that. But when I get to, actually creating files and using them on the system, I'm just kind of curious, is there a place on the MakerMade site where I can find a lot of information like that? Do I need to search YouTube? Where do I start looking after I get calibrated?
For that, you can search YouTube. You can use YouTube. We don't have too much information on that. We are working on a knowledge-based forum, and it should be up in the next couple of weeks, with more information in regards to that. But right now, I would just YouTube all that.
Okay.
one thing you can do too is are you on Facebook?
Yeah.
If you join the Facebook forum group, there's an amazing community on the Facebook. They're working on getting it. Drew with MakerMade is working on getting it outside of Facebook, and they're doing another one. But they have an amazing group and community on Facebook that is really helpful, super interactive.
Okay. I've read a little bit on Facebook forums with that group. I've done a little bit of looking at YouTube, but I was just curious if you guys had something more formal. Sounds like you're coming out with that in the next couple of weeks. That's great.
What are you looking for? Is there anything specifically? You're just looking for designs, or looking for more help on the best way to do designs, or something like that? Or what are you looking for?
Yeah, how to use the product. I've been doing woodworking for 30 years, but this is my first introduction into CNC. I've looked at stuff and overwhelmed by the ridiculous prices of tabletop things that are only 12 by 12 or something. So this was an exciting find. So, I've not done the CNC. I've messed around with computer programming in the past, so I've got some knowledge there, but not specific to CNC.
Yeah. So I would look at, so the main things you're in use is probably if you're getting used to this and everything else, easel's going to be your best way to start designing files for this just initially. So looking at the easel, it's a web-based app. So you can look at different ways. The nice thing is all these things. So if you're looking at Xcarves, you're looking at the Maslow's, if you're even so we have big mills and stuff like that here. And those are all, at the end of the day, it's, they all kind of cross translate in ways. So if you look at easel, learn easel a little bit, learn Makeverse, you'll be in pretty good shape. And so I would start there and just watch some tutorial videos on easel, and that'll help you get designing and stuff like that. And then if you're not trying to do edge to edge, it's pretty easy. Like mine right now are not calibrated. I'm playing with some of the laser modules and other things right now for them. And so I know my point where I'm gonna start my design and throw it on there. I have a couple test ones back here too. But yeah, so if you want to just make it easy, if you do a small thing, start with small things. And don't try to cut like a full piece of furniture at first. I would say start with doing stuff that's less than within 24 by 24, and then you don't have to worry about precise calibration, all those things like that, and just play. That's how I train my guys. I'm like, here you go. You got to start learning the machine. Have them start on easel, and I have them start on. And since you've been doing woodworking for a long time, you'll know your materials. So you're just getting used to how your machine's like handling your materials, just like your hand tools. And so once you get used to easel, and then start playing around. And just the best thing is don't try to do something immediately. A lot of people try to jump in like, I have this exact part I need to make right now, and it's gonna be a disaster. Just play.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I've run into the same issue buying other pieces of equipment in my shop and then trying to do something right off the bat. And I do this as a hobby and sell a few things here and there, but I'm excited to get into this. Some of the things I've watched where they're cutting out pieces, it's just kind of, I'm unsure of how they're holding the material on. How do they keep through cuts from causing parts to fall off and stuff like that?
So I can help with that. There's a few different ways that you can hold material to your wasteboard. You could either, a lot of people I see, they use just wood screws. They just go with corners and then one on the center ends to keep the board as flat as possible. The other side, the way I tend to go is I use a pin nailer. I have a compressor that's over there by the board. So whenever I put up a piece of wood that I want to cut, I just whack it a few times with the nail gun. And then whenever I cut my piece out, it's easy to take just a really small one of those small flat pry bars, jam in there, pop it, and then those little pin nails, they slide right out of the wood. For me, that's the fastest way because I can do it myself without having to have somebody hold the board while I'm trying to run a screw in it, and it doesn't tear up my backboard so much. I don't want to change out my spoil board if I don't have to. So either a pin nailer, something as simple as that. And I know they make battery powered ones nowadays, so you don't even have to pneumatics for it.
I've got a pin nailer. There
you go. Just use a pin nailer and just get it as centered in your on the wasteboard as possible. Make sure it's flat level. That's one of the big components. Just make sure it's flat level, and then just pop in 6 or 7 nails. And sometimes I run a 1/2-inch bit on mine at 30 inches per minute. I tear up some wood. Those nails never let go. It stays on the board. So
if you accidentally hit a pin nail, it's not going to hurt your cutter.
That's right. That's the other reason why I did that was the bits will chew right through a pin nail. I know they're metal. It might ruin the bit, but I have gone through a few here and there, and it didn't jump, didn't bump. It just cut right through it and kept on going. So
it'll start dulling it a little quicker than normal, but that's it.
The cutout components that you're talking about, what I highly suggest is for your first thing that you're going to do, easel is a really simple, straightforward software to learn. It's easy. If you open it up, easel even has some, whenever you open up easel, there's a little Lego brick on the left-hand side. And you can choose some different designs. You can choose some smiley faces, junk like that they already have preloaded in there. throw
Okay.
one of those on the board and go up there and just cut out and don't cut it all the way through the board at first. Just, cut it out on the smiley face, make sure it looks right, everything, your proportions are correct. And then in there, in easel, there's two tabs. Actually, there's multiple tabs, but it'll show you how to set your depths. It'll show you how to set your cut rates. It'll show you how to set up tabs. So whenever you do cut like a center out of a circle, for a hub, you don't want that thing coming out while the sled is riding around and hits the bed.
Right.
So it shows you how to set up tabs. It shows
Okay.
you how to set up all of that stuff. So
Nice.
what I would say is take, maybe a 4x4 piece of plywood and just play with it. Just mess it up.
Okay.
Cut out some shapes here and there, cut some depth, try to cut out some things, play with your tabs. Make sure you can move the tabs around. You can make them width and depth. Me, I go with a general rule of thumb, 6x6, 6 millimeter wide by 6 millimeter deep. That's what I do with all of my tabs. So that way I know it's the same depth, same width. And if I go through my board, if my Z is off a little bit, I still have some meat on that tab, right? It's still gonna have, if I'm off a millimeter or something happened to the Z axis and it's cutting 2 millimeters deep, I still got 3 or 4 millimeters holding that piece in there. So it just
Okay.
depends on how you do it. Just play with easel. That's my,
All right.
and it's free. It's free, so you can play all you want. And then as you learn more, you might want to go into VCarve or VCarve Pro, or you'll go to a paid subscription that's better than just easel. But that's I'm cheap. I do it as cheap as I can at first. Learn what's going
Can
on.
I import vector images into easel?
You can import STLs. You can import DXFs. If you look up, if you're on the team chat, the Facebook page, right?
Mhm.
Just look me up, Casey Conley. I did a nice little, I want to say a 4-minute video on how to do something, take a two-dimensional drawing from Google SketchUp, how to export it, import it into easel, and it'll show you how to set up, how you set up your easel, how you do that, and then how to export from easel your G code and then load it into Makerverse. So there's literally a video out there that goes through all three processes, from your CAM software to easel, which is your G code generator, and then into Makerverse, which is your G code reader and cutter.
Okay, great. So, you talked about the pin nailer and stuff like that. It seems pretty good. Is there any issues with trying to use like double face tape for like real small pieces that you might be cutting out, or?
It depends on your material. It depends on your material, but if you're doing like hardwood and stuff like that, I would not use double-sided tape. You can also build jig systems too. There's like you was talking about. So if you look in the groups too, there's a whole bunch of, there's people that have made amazing frames. There's all kinds of frames. There's all kinds of rigging systems. Like on this one here, I have a calibration I've etched into the back of it that so I can know exactly where I'm going to place pieces. And then I just use wood screws. And then what I do too, what I recommend is, it's like these two, you see they're round. So on this one over here, I don't have, you'll see that's just straight on the wasteboard. So what I recommend doing is just getting like a piece of shower backer board or something like that and putting it on top of the wasteboard. Now I just use a spray glue. And that way, what it allows me to do there is it allows me to, I can put pieces on it, and then later on, once it gets all messed up, I just replace it. I just peel that off instead of messing with the
That's
back.
a good idea. Cool.
And so it's super cheap and it works easy. And then you can jig it, but once you get really used to it, you kind of know where things are going to go. You'll be pretty good at not hitting screws. So, and if you do, it happens. It's like,
Yeah.
my God, we have big mills back here that have 150 horsepower motors, and some of the guys are worried like what happens. So I always make them watch the YouTube fails. I'm like, it happens. With the 150 horsepower one, it's kind of fun to watch because the end mills go slow. But
Hey guys,
good.
can I hop in real quick?
Sure.
So I switched the X and Y. Now my next question is, so I'm in Makerverse and I didn't actually make it all the way through the configuration. Is there a way to reload that configuration? Because when I click create workspace again because well, you already have a workspace. But then
Chris
when I
is
go-
working. Chris is working on that right now. They're working on an update where you can save, especially so if you have multiple machines, you can save profiles.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't think it is in there, but I know Chris, the Styles with Maker Made is actually, that's one of the things he's working on right now is doing.
So I gotta go back through it. I gotta delete
Yeah.
that and then go back through it. Okay.
Yeah, they're getting that. They're getting that set up. They're adding a custom thing for that.
Okay.
So we were talking about that last week.
So Robert, was there a specific question, just something you needed right now? Was there
Well,
something
I'm
that's
just
not
trying to,
working for you?
yeah, I'm just trying to get through the configuration. So we were having a problem with the Z axis. So the suggestion was to switch to X and Y motors. So that's what I did. So now I'll have to go back through the configuration and make reverts and see if that fixed the problem. I just didn't know if I could load everything, you know, because it's a bunch of stuff that you got to measure, and I didn't write any of it down because I'm a newbie, you know. So I
Live
need
and
to
learn,
write all
man.
that down.
Live and learn. Yeah, I, you know, I do some training at the house for people that are local here in Houston. They'll come over. And that's one of the things I always stress is when you take your initial measurements, and by the way, always do your measurements in millimeters. It's way more accurate.
Yeah.
Go through, do all your measurements in millimeters, and then I write them down with permanent marker on my desk, my work table. That way, if I ever have to go in and recalibrate, guess what? My cut board hasn't changed. My
Right.
motor distance, my motor offset, none of that changed. So I can just go in, type in the numbers, and get right to calibrate and reset
Right.
everything and get it done. So that's just a good habit to have. But I didn't do that my first time either, and I ended up measuring 2 or 3 times before I finally, oh yeah, I should write this shit down.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, I'm gonna go and I'll start this process again, and I'll just listen.
Yeah.
Right.
And once you get used to it, it takes a little bit, but it's one of those things. Once you get used to it, and once you kind of get things figured out, the learning curve, it's a steep learning curve. So it takes a little bit to start getting going, and then all of a sudden you'll start getting things down real quick. It's not that bad. And worst comes to worst, you're going to break. People, I know, I see a lot of people are terrified of breaking end mills, stuff like that. Always buy extra end mill. You're going to break bits. It's just going to happen. You're going to have things that happen. I've stretched springs. I've busted chains. You'll have things that happen every now and then. I put a stop switch if you're getting used to it. I recommend a lot of people go to Amazon. Let's see if I get my camera to follow me. Yeah. But yeah, you can go on Amazon for like $20, and let's see here. You go on Amazon and get these guys. They're like the table saw stop switches, and they work really well. And I have my power supply for the Arduino plugged into it, and I have the the router plugged into it. So for some reason I hit something, or it's jammed before I press the spring, just hit it, and it killed it. You know, it just stops. It stops the motors, and it stops the router. And it's super easy. There's no real wiring. It's just a plug on the back. So it plugs in the wall and there's a plug out in the back. So it's a good way to save, even if you're not new to them. You want to save it. You want to save that. It's a good thing to have.
If you have to activate that emergency stop, does it, do you completely lose your program? Have you wasted the material, or can you restart it?
You can restart it. So I plug it into the power supply for the shield, and I plug it into the Arduino will still stay on. So all that's going to happen is it's one of those things. You want to hit stop on your code too, but you can restart it. You won't lose. Now in the old M1s you would, with the M2s you won't. And so but it comes down. That's why I don't have it disconnect like the USB or anything like that, because the Arduino will stay on based because it's just on the 5-volt off the USB. The shield, the only thing that the shield's doing is you're having your stepper drivers, and then you're just killing power to your stepper drivers and killing power to your router. And the back of that thing, it's just there's a plug out that goes into one side and a plug out that I have a little splitter that goes into the router and the power supply for the shield.
So the Arduino itself is separately powered.
It is. So your Arduino, well, it's not so much that it's separately powered, but it does draw power from USB. So it technically, yes.
Okay.
But the shield does keep power. It's just it won't be. There's not enough power off the. Sorry, my chickens are playing.
While I'm on here, I guess I want to check there's an Arduino connected to the machine, but it doesn't come with a display or anything else. So do people just kind of have a memory card, they jam into a port on the Arduino, or how do you download it?
I have computers dedicated to them, so a lot of people, so like you'll see each of these machines will have computers. I have them on cards, and a lot of times I just have them attached to the back of these machines. So you'll see I have, and I'm just using old Core I. I think these are like on this one. It's an old, this is just a cheap like little mount off Amazon, like a $20 mount off Amazon. I just have a Core I. I just have the Core i7 with 8 gigs of RAM or something like that. I got it for $20, and so so you can also use a Raspberry Pi if you want to. There's Raspberry Pi.
So you've got a separate laptop or Raspberry Pi with its own display, and you plug that into the Arduino with over USB?
Yes.
Okay.
What operating system do you use?
I'm sorry?
Is there a certain operating system that you use? Oh,
On these, I'm using Windows 10 because I just got a bunch of Windows. I just have tons of Windows boxes. So I used to be a network engineer, so I still get a lot of tons of equipment that gets dumped on me. So
and in terms of how you can kind of access the functions of the machine, does running it through a laptop or something, does that allow you to jog the machine around, or how do you home it? How do you do those things?
Yep. Yeah, you can do it all through the machine. I'll pull this up here, but yeah, right. It's all through Makerverse. You can go through and do that. So you'll do the design and easel, and then you'll do like your machine controls and actually setting your files and all that, and easel. I mean Makerverse.
And does Makerverse have Makerverse is Windows only, or Windows and Linux, or Windows, Linux, and Mac, or what?
Windows and Mac, but it technically has Linux because if you're running it on the Pi, it's beyond Debian or Ubuntu kernel. So
yeah, I run Linux, and I'm able to hook up my Linux computer with Makerverse, and everything works great. So if you want to use Linux, it can be done.
Yeah, there's on the MakerMade site, they have download links for the Windows and Mac, but there is a Linux version.
Okay. So, and a Raspberry Pi would be adequate for anything you'd need to do there at the machine, right?
Oh yeah, by far. And you could use VNC to remotely control it too, which is nice. I definitely put a webcam. I've caught one on fire before. It was with the old M1 chassis. We caught the backboard on fire because it jammed and the bit got stuck. And luckily I have some of the Wise cameras on them, the little $25 Wise cameras. And so I'd gone home and I was looking, I was like, man, the camera's so foggy. I was like, oh shit. I drove back real quick. Like, that smoke. So luckily the building didn't burn down, but no, it was, yeah. So I put a camera on and do it remotely, but the M2's got the Z-axis is really good with them too. So.
Okay, thank you.
It's like Anderson has his hand up there.
Hey, thank you. Hi. So I've assembled my backboard. The machine works. I'm in the calibration phase right now, and I'm curious about the concept of home. So I've attempted to home the sled at different points in the board, and I can't seem to get, like, this is supposed to be square with rounded corners, and I can't do anything but oblong with the rounded corners, and I suspect it's related to where I'm homing it versus like work origin. So could you talk me through that a little bit? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. So it's not going, once you set a home origin, it's not going back to that home origin later?
Oh no, it is. I'm just wondering. So, it seems like the X and Y skew are deforming, and it seems related to where I'm homing it. So, like, I can, if I set it seems like the closer I set it to the bottom left, the better results I get. But then if I home it so let's say I home it at the center of the board, I get like skewed X and Y. Like, and it doesn't seem to, like, you set $85 and $86 to like correct, and that doesn't seem to do anything at all. So I'm curious.
You may need a little bit calibration. You may also have one thing you may be running into too right now. Like, let's see if I can get this in the space. One thing I see a lot too. So some of the old manuals had where where the chain was. Let's see if they'll see it. Come on, camera. I'm using an AI camera system.
I think I know what you're talking about. Like the point at which the
it's on
the chain might hit the nail.
Down and over 12, go up and inset, or up and 6 in, and that will make it, because you'll get a difference in how your chain's pulling. And if you're going edge to edge on this guy, and you're trying to go all the way edge to edge in 8-foot, I always recommend everybody go with the 12-foot top board, go with the longer top board, and go with the longer chains. Yeah, go with they're worth it for the 15-foot chains.
Oh. Well, but it's not that I'm trying to go edge to edge. It's just that it seems like no matter where in the board I start, it won't skew, and no matter, like, I'll cut one and then I'll say, okay, like, get out the calipers and figure out the percentage delta in X and Y, and then put that back in as my correction numbers, and then I print it again and it's basically the same. So I guess, like, the percentage correction doesn't seem to do what I'm expecting it to do, and I'm wondering if I'm approaching this wrong.
Yeah, so
I think that's gonna be a Mike question, or Mark. Sorry, Casey, you had an answer for that one.
Oh yeah, I was saying that the I guess the key to what his answer was there was he said he actually gets better accuracy when it's down and to the left. So whenever he actually goes down and to the left or the right, he gets better accuracy. His accuracy sucks in the middle of the board. So that to me, that telltale sign there is that his top beam is not centered or level. Because what happens is whenever you get
You're right. It's not level, I bet.
Yeah.
Because I've done that. You're right. I've had one that wasn't level.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it might be a ½ inch off. Again, it's how you measure your top beam. So keep this in mind. This is one of the most important things I tell people. You must have a minimum of 18 inches from the top of your cut board to the center of your motor shafts on the beam for the triangulation calculation to work correctly. If you are lower than that, I've even talked to the guy that designed the software, Maslow. It doesn't work. The variables start skewing. So you must be.
Can you say that again so I can write that down?
So
minimum of 18 inches between.
You must have a minimum of 18 inches from the center of your motor shafts to the top of your cut board. Okay.
I'm almost positive that that's true, because when I'm doing when I do the calibration instructions, it's 17 inches between just between the top beam and the cut board. So okay. I'm pretty sure to add the motor shaft, I'm pretty sure it gets to 18.
Okay, so if you're measuring to the bottom of your cut board, you're taking out the 3 inches on your board. So if you're measuring from the bottom of your top beam to the top if you're measuring from the bottom of your top beam to the top of your cut board, your 2x4 is 3.5 inches plus an.
So I might just be off by that amount.
I guarantee it, and you're gonna be off. And there's one more thing that you got to remember is when you measure from your motors, that offset from that, you have to measure at the 15-degree plane. Don't take a tape measure and put it in the center of the motor and measure straight down. Your top board, your top beam, and the face of your cut are 15-degree angle. So you have to. I take a meter stick, really, and I clamp it right to the middle of my motor shaft and let it hang out there. And then I take another square. I take a level and put it across my cut beam, and then I put a square between that. And it literally tells me right down to the millimeter how far that distance is at 15 degrees. Mine's 442. I mean, it's
Okay.
right there. So A, measure on the 15-degree angle. B, measure in millimeters, not inches. Okay.
Casey knows his stuff. Casey's and he comes to like he's here and these every single week and he knows his stuff and he hears a lot of the questions, so he's used to knowing what you'd be running into too. So yeah, I think you're dead on.
Thank you very much.
I think the reason why you're getting better results when you move down and over to the side is your top beam is skewed like this. Think about, I mean, it's not that bad.
Maybe.
You can visually
Yeah.
see it, but this side is probably closer to 18 inches over here than this side. So whenever you move it down and over, you get better calibration. But when you move it over the other way, it's too close to the board because it's sitting at an angle. So you get
And
worse calibration.
Are these when we say level, and I assume we're speaking of level as relative to the wasteboard, right? Not necessarily level to the ground.
That's right. I guarantee you, my system right now is off of standard level because my floor in my garage, I have a 3% grade, right? So
yeah, I'm in a basement.
Look at it,
yeah,
everything looks like it's leaning, but they're perfectly square to each other. That's the goal, right?
That's right. Our home warehouse is built on top of the landfill where they used to dump all the roads. So our everything is like a mess.
Yeah. So that I just posted a thing on Facebook about this the other day. Your frame and your top beam are even more critical and important than getting your sled put together 100% correctly, because your frame and your top beam, they are what tell you they are your accuracy. So garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah, I was incredibly careful on that part. So I'm pretty confident that everything's level, but it's possible that I'm not measuring correctly. And so that's what I'll address.
Yeah, I had a group here 2 weeks ago and they swore up and down they were level. And whenever I measured it on the 15-degree angle, they were at 17 inches. But whenever we measured straight up and down, they were right at 18. And I said, yeah, see? So you think you're 18, but you're not. You're at 17. So that 15-degree angle measuring out like that almost adds an entire inch to that calculation, or it actually shortens it, right? So you're not where you think you are.
And that right there itself throws it completely off.
By 1 inch. That's a huge factor. That's huge. 1 inch is huge. You think about that, there's 25.4 millimeters in an inch. Think about what that's going to do to your accuracy, trying to get down to a millimeter or two, right? That's a big contributing factor. So anyway, lesson learned, right? Just make sure your frame is flat, level, everything is tied in. That's it. And what Drew said, if you can, upgrade to the 12-foot top beam with the longer chains, because that helps you with your accuracy in the bottom 12 by 12 corners. What happens is, think about it, this thing is a big Y. It's a Y shape, right? You got 2 chains going up and then pulling down are 2 bricks. So that's your center of gravity, right in the center of the board. If you have a 10-foot top beam and you have an 8-foot wide cutting board, as that thing moves over and down, the chain on that side is no longer pulling on a Y. You now have a T because that chain's pulling up and down because you're all the way to the end of your board. See what I mean? You lose a lot of accuracy there. So you got to keep it a Y. That's why if you extend those to 12 foot with the longer chains, then when you get to the side of your board, the chain's still pulling at a Y, still pulling it this way instead of straight up. And a good indicator is whenever you get over on that side, look at the opposite side of your chain if it's starting to sag. That means you need a wider top beam.
Yeah. Thanks.
Craig, you have your hand up?
Oh yeah, hi, good morning, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me okay. I just want to say thank you to everybody in advance for all these great ideas and stuff. And I wanted to say that I'm almost done with, I call it a scaffold, with my scaffold. And I'd like to send a picture, and I don't know if I can do that so you can see it. But essentially, I'm, my question is I don't really have any question. My comment, my concern is about that top beam, which I have yet to put on. And, but well, I do have a question. My question is that when you put the beam across, and that beam has to be at a 15-degree angle along with the, where the board is sitting. But I've seen some guys where they have it flat up against, screwed directly into those two posts. And I've seen some of them where they have like a spacer coming out, like a piece of wood, or even the blue bracket, like attached, like, so it basically kind of like pushes that beam a little bit off of, it's a further out. Does that matter, or can it just be flush up against the two pieces of, supports that are already at 15 degrees?
Yeah. So hold on, you're talking about two different builds here.
Yeah.
That put that beam across there and they nail it straight to the boards. That's the mobile base, because
Okay.
it basically asks you to make an A-frame, right?
Yes.
And this front is, and it's already set at a 15-degree angle, and this front here is all the way up, and you put your beam across. It's exactly what Drew has there. That is the A-frame design, and you can see he doesn't have the brackets, right? He has his nailed directly on there because his whole frame is already at 15 degrees. When people use those blue brackets that come with the M2 unit, those are when you're mounting everything to the wall. Those, yeah.
Okay.
When mounting to the wall, then they usually use those because it automatically gives you that 15-degree angle on the cut board. And above it, it puts that top beam at a 15-degree angle. It's like it's a dummy guide, right? You use those and you're automatically at 15-degree angle. But I'm a big fan of the old frame design, because how you build it, boom, you're at 15 degrees. I mean, it's a simple, simplistic, easy to build frame. Drew's got 3 of them in his shop there. I love those.
Right.
I mounted mine to the wall. It's kind of a pain. It takes a lot of tinkering and setup to get it there, but that's the difference. The people that bolt it straight to the frame on those horizontal or the verticals you're talking about, they're building the old style frame, and there's instructions, including with M2 for doing that.
Okay.
And then the ones that are bolting it straight to the wall, they're the ones using those standoffs, those pre-made steel brackets.
Yeah, I don't remember. We spoke like last week, and I did go along with the mobile unit scap, kind of like Drew's there. And I actually use 2x6s, which probably might be overkill. But like I said, I think that I had no problem getting it to like 15 degrees. And I just want to make sure that I was just going to go like up maybe up to 2 feet with the chain. I mean, I wasn't going to try to cut it close to that 18-inch, point that you made earlier about So I was going to go higher, even if that's okay.
You can go higher than 18 inches. It's just, you don't want to get out of control, right? I mean,
right.
Keep it logical, but you can go higher than 18 inches and you're okay. But don't go less. If you do that, you're in deep trouble. You're not in trouble. Your calibration will never get to where you want if you're below it.
Yeah, and I'm going to start small. I'm not looking to like get to the outer edges. I was going to go ahead and put a 12-foot, beam across, maybe upgrade the chain down the road. But I thought, well, start small, because I want to get, I don't want to get discouraged. I want to get success first, and then I can kind of try to get a little more sophisticated and push it. That's what I try to do anyway. But I want to thank you guys.
You have frustrations. Any of these machines, you'll get frustrated at times. Just just bear with it. You'll get through it. It's cool. Just don't keep a sledgehammer. We don't keep sledgehammers near the 3D printers or near the most of the main equipment, because I have my days where. Yeah.
I have that printer from that movie Office Space where I go outside and start kicking it, until I get it to work. But I know what you mean. Yeah, but I appreciate you guys' help, and I've had it for about 6 months, but I just haven't been able to get to it. And I'm excited to get it knocked out this weekend. I can send some pictures in. I don't know how to do that. Like, I can show you what I have so far if I send it to someone. But anyway, like I said, thank you again. And I was considering, getting a little Raspberry Pi. I actually have a couple of old computers that are brand new that have actually XP on them. I have like Dell computers that are brand new in a box, and I thought maybe using those. But,
I would make sure you're running at least a Core i, like at least a 2nd or 3rd gen Core i. And that's still 12, 14 years old, but I wouldn't go anything like, I wouldn't go with like a Core Duo or anything like that. I'd go with the Core i series. Okay. The Core i will work fine. You don't need, and actually the Raspberry Pi 2B pluses will be fine. Go with the really old. Now, those XP boxes, if they're old enterprise machines, they may actually be Core i's. But just double check on that.
Okay, thank you. I'll look into it. Thank you again.
Hey, so if I can give an update real quick, I switched those motors, Z-axis started responding. I was moving it up and down. I got it all the way down to, so it's just touching the wasteboard. Right when I was ready to go measure, it stopped responding. Any ideas?
On the console, are you getting a soft alert? So in your if in the top, just kind of pull it up. Let me see if I can see this may be basically, but are you getting a soft limit? So you'll hit a. Let me pull up MakerVerse real quick. So in your top left-hand corner, you'll see like where all the little. My camera's not going. Anyways, you'll see a little area where you'll see like all the command stuff coming through. I was wondering if you're hitting a soft limit.
Oh,
Close that up right there. Yeah, close that up. Close that. And then you'll see soft limits pop up. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, right
Right
here.
there.
Okay.
Hold on, folks. Frank, about the top of your screen there. Hold on, I got to make it larger. You see where it says reset and then unlock?
Yeah.
Reset, then unlock. Oh, you're already past your limits. There you
Yeah.
go. Now move the opposite direction. Move back up. Don't go
Just
down.
don't do a huge jump. Make sure you're set to like a 20 millimeter jump. Don't do like a 500 millimeter jump.
Yep.
I'm not exactly sure what you're telling me to do right now.
Okay, so over where your arrows are.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Right here.
So I was pulling MakerVerse up on my big touch screen. I have like a big Surface touch screen thing here, but let's see if I can get this here.
Okay.
So over here, you're gonna see your arrows. Let me zoom my camera. Hang on a second. Come on, camera control.
On your right hand side, Frank, you're going to see a thing that says 0.1 millimeters by those arrows. Can you show the camera back on your screen real quick? Yep, you see where the arrows are. You see where it says 0.1 millimeters. That's how far you jump that in increments to make your move. So click on 0.1 right there. See the drop down box?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, click that. Yeah, so what do you want to move? 5 millimeters, 10 millimeters, 1. It goes all the way up to like 500 or 1,000. So go to like 10 millimeters, click on, scroll down.
If you do too small, it's hard to see the movement. So 10's pretty safe.
Yeah, go to like 10 millimeters. Yeah, scroll or roll your whatever.
Oh.
There you go. Hit 10. No, not that far. There you go. Hit 10. 10 millimeters there. Now hit, you said you were at the bottom of the board. Over in the yellow component where the Y is.
Well,
the
Z-axis has stopped responding on me. So
No, you
what
can
I
do
said
your-
is,
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Oh.
You hit your
Oh,
soft
okay.
limit.
It's
So,
the blue button. It's next to the yellow. You'll see the blue ones.
yeah, the blue buttons are your Z axis. So if you were going in and it stopped moving on you, then go up, but only do it 1 millimeter increments. Don't do 10 because you'll hit your soft limits again.
okay. Can you explain the soft limit for me?
The soft limits are safety limits. So you don't, you see your slide on the Z, you have the 2 bars with the screw on it, right? On the mechanical assembly.
Yep.
Well, that plate can only move up so far before it locks up that screw and it's going to keep driving it and try to break something. The
Yeah.
soft limit says, okay, if I go up here, I'm this far away from bottoming out, it will stop you. It'll say, whoa, soft limit, you're close to crashing.
Okay.
The soft limits are a safety limit. They won't let you go too far.
Got it. Got it.
The problem
those-
is
those-
sometimes
They probably work better once you have things calibrated too.
Yeah.
whenever you calibrate your Z axis to where it's just touching the board, it should set those. The Maslow knows the length of that 8 millimeter Acme screw. So when you set the home for that, when you do that in the calibration, it should say, okay, well, I know I have this much left, so I'm going to set my soft limit here. So it should do that. But if you don't calibrate your Z axis correctly, your soft limits are going to be out of whack. Right.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's what we're right in the middle of trying to calibrate.
There you go.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And hold on 1 second. Frank, you're going to have soft limits on your Y and your X as well. So if you move too far off on your board, it's supposed to stop so you don't run your damn sled off the board, or you run it up and it breaks something. So
Yeah.
you got soft limits on X, Y, and Z.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just once you'll probably want to recalibrate if you keep hitting them every now and then. But
Anybody else have their hand up here? I'm scrolling through. No? Matt, I see that you're on mute though. You making anything cool? You always have something cool to show everybody. Something you cut out lately.
No, I haven't done anything lately, but I'm excited to get back to it. I made a couple boards and stuff. I got some Purple Heart at Woodcraft, and I'm looking forward to carving into that. So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. Anybody else have any questions?
Hi, I actually have another one, if it's okay.
Yep.
Well, I'm at the point now where I have a couple of routers, and I'm wondering which one I own, but I'm wondering if I need to buy another one. Is there one that's, I have a smaller router, like a Finnish router, and I think it's a Bosch, but I don't know the actual number. And I'm wondering, does it matter to get one that has more horsepower, or should I go with like the ones for minimum states, the DeWalt, and my little Maker's Made 2, whatever, has like that bracket. So I don't know if I should go with a smaller one, or should I go with one that has more horsepower? Does it matter? And should I go with the corded one, or I mean, I was gonna go with the corded one probably, but I heard people use battery powered ones too.
I would not do a cordless one. You're going to burn through or you'll go through a cordless one fast. The battery's not. You're talking hours worth of cutting. You'll be and then not only that, swapping batteries. If you run down, sometimes you'll lose your RPM will go slow down as the battery drains.
Okay.
So you're going to get uneven cuts with a cordless. But I would stick to ones they recommend if this is your first time. Like I use the Rigid and the DeWalt. We have a little bit of both of them on there, and then you can also do a spindle system. But spindle's going to be a lot to deal with it. The Rigid and DeWalt seem to work good. Some people have preferences. You'll see in the groups, there's definitely people that have a lot of preferences on those.
Okay.
So,
and it's all user. It's all user preference, So I know I ran into someone that's actually using the battery power. Everything works good, but all they're doing is just cutting circles. So each circle they're cutting is 13 minutes. So it's not bad. But like what you said, if you have a 2-3 hour cut, you're gonna lose power.
Right.
Yeah. So
Does the horsepower really matter? It looks like the little DeWalt's like less, and his bigger ones are like over too.
Just when I'm cutting steel plate, stainless steel takes a lot of horsepower.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it does, depending on how hard wood stuff. But really, I think it's not gonna be that huge a deal because I wouldn't recommend doing deep cuts at once. I would recommend doing multiple passes.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it will make a difference a bit, but not huge unless you're doing some super hard wood. Like I think that's a big keys.
Gotcha. Okay, I understand. Yeah, and then, well, I guess I wanted to try to cut cedar planks. Maybe line them up and cut them. Do different things, and they're about 5/8 thick. So I guess you just do passes till you get through the material. Because try to hog it out at once, probably dull the blade or probably burn it or something. I mean, it just seems like common sense, but I don't know.
Yeah, you can depending on your end mill too. There's the ones you'll get used to. So you'll get used to the different end mills. You'll get used to the different, based on the different materials, stuff like that. But I mean, I've had some like you see on the back of this one. I guess if you can see it from here, but it's like this. Got one jammed, and this is another one we nearly caught fire too. So it happens. So
yeah,
I had 2 even passes, and I burned it up. Then it caught, and the Z-axis jammed, and just so. But it was also we were pushing high speeds with deep cuts passes, so which is not a good mixture. But
okay.
All right, so I see Dan Foster's on. Dan, get off your phone, man. Yeah, I seen you posting some stuff on Facebook there, going back and forth. Is there any questions you had here for the group, or?
First of all, thanks for having me. I'm feeling very welcome in this community. I started building my M2 this week, and then the snafu happened where I got like a 2020 model, and I threw a stink, and they're sending me the new 2021. So in the meantime, yeah, had some really tough questions, like what's the best color rattle can from the big orange guys to get to match the color scheme for Maker Made?
Yeah, it's from yeah.
I
so
don't.
are you using? You're going to use the rigid router, or?
I'm gonna go with the DeWalt, the bigger one, the 618. Just because from traditional woodworking, my experience is if you can handle a bigger router, do it. It's gonna fight. You know, it's not gonna lose fights to wood at all. So like anything else, more horsepower the better.
Yeah,
That's this one. This one's using a DeWalt, and I really like it. This other one's on the rigid, and then that one's on the DeWalt too, actually.
You know, I'm an export victim, so I've been using a DeWalt 611 on that. So yeah. I was going to ask. I'm trying to, so I don't ask stupid questions or be repetitive. I went back and luckily I had the time on my hands to look at the previous Zoom sessions that are uploaded to Facebook and trying to, get caught up on all the work that we've accomplished here in these meetings. Something that Drew, Maker Made Drew mentioned maybe back in January was they're going to have an alignment jig to line up the router to the sled. Was that something that ever came to fruition? Because I don't see it on the store.
That's something that you can make yourself. So what I did is I just cut a 3-inch circle and then had it center punched with 2 different kind of bits. I have 2 centering jigs. So once you get it calibrated and running and everything's good, then you start making tools for the tool, which is really fun. So I make I make corner holding jigs so you can hold boards on there, but I also made a centering jig. And I mean, what I did, and this may not be right, but I got it as centered as I could. And then I just cut a circle out and put a hole in the middle for a 1/4 inch and an 1/8 inch bit. So.
Yeah, I figured that's an option if I couldn't find it. I just would like to have one that was made on a known calibrated piece of equipment, right? Rather than trying to cut ovals with circles and wonder why it doesn't fit in my sled. Like I said, I haven't even finished building the damn thing yet, but I'm, that's what the military does to you. Think contingency, next step, and 5 steps out. And I'm already seeing like I ordered the 15-foot chains, or I'm going to go with a 12-foot header. All these things I'm already planning in advance. So, okay. Yeah.
So real quick, hold on there, Dan.
Mhm.
So the question for Mike G. So with the dust collection system and everything I designed, I designed 3 specific centering jigs that are, they're dead on, less than a millimeter off on the centering. For Mike G on here, should I break those out and offer those as something separate at of course, a much lower cost, but then it gives somebody the ability to purchase a centering jig set that has 1/8, 1/4, and 1/2 bit sizes in it?
I was about to say the same thing. Say you should put those on the marketplace.
Yeah, I think
Just
so.
break them out, and then anybody can buy them for whatever, and that way you can buy a set of centering jigs that they fit. You have to press them in and make sure they're straight. They're a perfect fit. And then I use the actual end mill bit to put the circle in them. So they're the exact same size of bit, but I didn't know if anybody would ever be interested in that.
I use
Next
3D
week I'll
printing.
buy it.
Will you be 3D printing these?
Yeah, I printed them. It's the center of the hole is an exact 3 inches.
Do you have something you can show us?
Yeah, I can show you. Hold on 1 second.
Somebody else has birds.
Yeah, it's me, South Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here
I've got chickens and dogs.
it's this one right here. You sit it down on the board like this. This fits in the hole. This sits flat on the board, so you've got it as far as you need. And then it's got the hole in the center where you just go ahead and move your whole frame, your Z-axis frame, and lower down your router until the bit goes perfectly through this hole in the bit. It's a tight fit. You kind of got to jiggle it and it'll slowly fit in there. But then that's it. You can't get it. You're within fractions of a small millimeter in there to having a perfect center. And to be honest with you, that's how if you guys have seen a lot of the work that I've done, a lot of the technical cutting that I do, it's, furniture, things that are perfectly square and flat. That's one of the keys, is making sure your unit is perfectly centered. So, but that comes, I always get that as a package with the dust collection, but I mean, I can pull those out and then people can just buy a package of alignment jigs too.
Yeah, you can. I say you can leave them in there for whoever wants the whole complete system, and then also whoever doesn't want the whole complete system will just buy those, as in a package.
Yeah.
All I gotta say is you better be printing with a MakerMade printer.
That's not happening. Actually, MakerMade called me and said, "Hey, what's up with all the Creality printer photos and everything?" I said, "Hey, send me one for free and I'll make them. Other than that, it's gonna stick to a Creality."
That's funny. I really love. I've been playing with the M3 printer. It's great, but yeah. But I'll tell you something funny real quick. I don't get off it. Yeah. We were going through yesterday, organizing printers and moving our 3D printing area because we now think we're up to 67 3D printers between SLA and other ones. And one of the guys was like, "Man, where are you keeping on your printers?" Like, we have so many printers. I've had literally one that somebody drove by our office and threw it in our front. we always have people call us like, "I bought a 3D printer to start trying to do this job." It's like, "Can y'all 3D print it for us?" Because it's so funny. So people buy the printers and just get so frustrated. But I literally had somebody drive by and just throwing out their window into our I would say, "Hey, do you want it?"
All right, so Dan, you had some more questions there. You want to keep going there?
Just one other. I don't know if it's technically feasible or not, or if this is just a bad idea, but is there a way to create a machine profile for the X-Carb so MakerVerse can control? I have, continuity of software. I don't want to be using easel anymore. I hate easel. But does that make sense? Is that just like a crazy idea?
No, you can do that.
Okay. So just create a machine profile with all the parameters for the X-Carb.
MakerVerse will take any GRBL G code that you upload to it. So it doesn't matter who it was manufactured by, who it was made. But having said that, I'm not sure if you can use that software to control the MakerMade unit. I'm not sure if you can try to make a profile. I won't guarantee that it's working.
If you use Gerbil 1.1, you can set it. You'll be fine. Gerbil 1.1. There's some things like spindle control, stuff like that, that may be a little different, but all the S-code values will be fine. Yeah, I'm using a Lightburn. I'm actually controlling a thing with Lightburn for some testing I'm doing right now. Like, this is all laser behind it. This is all done with a laser module. It's attached to it going through the spindle port. We call it, but yeah, I've also, you can use B, C, and C. Just stick with Gerbil. Don't do Gerbil 2.1. Do Gerbil 1.1 or lower, and you'll be fine.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would like to say though, Dan, if you do it and you run it through that software, post about it. Tell other people.
Yeah.
If it works,
I'll try and brag. It sounds like something I probably won't accomplish. I was hoping somebody else already invented that wheel. That's why I asked, is it a dumb question? It's not. Okay, maybe it's already been accomplished and somebody wants to do it. No, my big plan right now is to try and add a second router mount. I'm just looking at my X-Carb. It's such a huge mount for that DeWalt router. It's very stable. And somebody in the forum mentioned that there is deflection on the Z-axis. And so I ordered a second 91 millimeter mount or clamp, and I'm gonna try and put a second clamp directly beneath, by maybe 1 or 2 inches or how much space I have on that Z plate, and put a second clamp on there.
So you're saying there's deflection on the MakerMade unit, or there was deflection on the X-Carb unit?
No, on the MakerMade. Like I said, I haven't finished building it. So one of the other users of the M2, he made his own extended mount with a quick release. It was all in the conversation from yesterday, and it got me thinking. So I just went ahead and bought a second clamp, and and before I get everything assembled, I'll take the Z plate completely apart, very carefully drill 4 more holes. So I get.
If you're worried about deflection of 0.03 to 0.04 millimeters, I mean that's the X-Carb factor, right? But I mean, I get mine down to where 0.04 millimeters, that's crazy stuff. I mean, the deflection at that rate doesn't matter with what I'm doing with the Maslow. And to be honest with you, I have problems. I tried measuring the deflection on the Z-axis,
Right.
and even with all my digital tools and stuff, I had a hard problem even getting a measurement. Was that the Z-axis on the Maslach to me is very strong. It's good. It's probably, to me, it's better than the X-carve with the beams that they use, and then others that they use out there with pipes. Yeah, I don't see how you would get, the only way you would get any deflection is if your screw and stuff was loose. Maybe that might be how he got it. But from a mechanical engineering point, I don't know. I'd say the Z-axis on the Maslach is one of the stronger ones I've ever seen on the market because it's so small and compact and beefy. They're using 20 by 40 extruded aluminum on that in a case that's less than 8 by 8. It's like trying to take a 6-inch branch, cut it 3 inches long, and try to bend that. You can't. It's so short and stubby and strong. So the only way I could think that they would get that deflection is
the sled. Maybe loose your mount, maybe loose your sled or something like that.
Well,
Maybe
if they were plunging way too fast, let's be honest, the maker might match the speed of an. Don't ever expect that. Okay?
Yeah, maybe they're confusing a deflection for jitter because they're plunging too much one pass.
Possibly, but
you could also look at going to a spindle if you really want. If you're doing that much modification stuff like that for your M2, look at a spindle. You can get a nice spindle for $500, water cooled or air cooled. $400 on Amazon. There's some good ones.
Yeah, no, I like the college for the 611s. You can get the EP. I forgot the company makes them, but I bought that for my X-carve, and it actually did help with the accuracy, with a precision collet. So, no, and like on the X-carve, I was able to make the Festool MFT style template for drilling holes, and it was
on that X-carve. On that X-carve, do you have to do a lot of maintenance on that?
If you don't use dust collection, I took the dust collection from day one and called out dust collection. Even on the M2, I plan on doing dust collection. I'll never run a tool without dust collection. Avoid it. So no, I personally not had to have too much maintenance on the X-carve, but like I said, I've been using dust collection from day one.
So you're trying to get 0.004. What kind of accuracy you're trying to get?
I didn't say that.
No, that was me. That was me.
Okay, I'm like, we were doing control boxes for F-14 fighter jets, and we had like a 0.5 millimeter accuracy for aerospace and for Air Force. I was like, man, like, what the heck are y'all doing over there?
But I mean, that was my example, guys. That wasn't Dan. I said that with the MakerMade I have here, I tried measuring my deflection just to make sure it was there, and the deflection was so small. Digital calipers and stuff would barely. I couldn't get it in there to even take a reading on it. I mean, it's barely nothing. So, yeah, that was me that said that. It wasn't Dan.
That's fine. And like one of my project goals is to make the Ron Polk workbench with the MFT holes.
Yeah, nice. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, and I can already tell my first few attempts will probably be failures, but I want to eliminate every variable that could have been a contributing factor, to any inaccuracies. And so right away, I'm going to stabilize the router as much as possible, stabilize that Z-axis, so I don't have to go back and take the whole sled apart later.
Yeah, I mean, I make a lot of technical stuff, high-tech furniture, very accurate designs and stuff. And I just got the regular bracket for now. I use a 2.25 horsepower router. I got mine as jacked up. It's the larger Bosch 2.25 horsepower.
Right.
And it's got the 91 millimeter clamp on it. And I don't get, like I said, my deflection is nothing. I mean, I'm sure there is some on a macro level. But whenever I tell it that I want to cut through and my tabs on my board are 6 millimeters, like 6 millimeters, and I cut about a 0.5 millimeter into my backboard. So my Z-axis is very accurate. I don't have problems with it. Before you go doing a lot of upgrades on something that you've heard, try it yourself. That would be my suggestion. See if you have problems with it before you upgrade it.
Yeah, I appreciate that point of view also. This is like a OCD battle of mine.
Yeah, I'm having the same problem. Like Casey, I can't get my end mills to fit on
All right, Lauren, you have questions, Lauren?
Yeah, I was going to ask, see if anybody had experience with Carbide Create. Y'all mentioned it to me. I gave it a shot, and I found it. I mean, it took me a minute to kind of get used to the interface, and then I kind of worked it out. But as soon as I plugged in or loaded the G code into a Makerverse, as soon as I hit play, it would immediately go into pause. And I'm curious if y'all had that issue, or if I'm just running, if I'm clicking something wrong in Carbide Create, it's causing it to automatically pause out as soon as I try to start. Or if it's just an error and I just need to go back and try to recreate the whole thing.
And do you you pressing play and then you have to press pause again and then press play and then keep on doing that, or is it just a one-time thing?
As soon as I click play and Makerverse, it automatically pauses back out.
And then you press play again, it does the same thing again? Like it does it over and over and over?
So Lauren, just a quick piece on that. There's not a lot of people that have done what you're trying to do. It's a great idea. If you get it to work, I'd like you to post about it because I'd like to know about it. But my suggestion on that is there's a website out there called Cnc Cookbook. If you've never visited that website, they actually have a free GRBL optimizer, and it's actually really cool. You can load any GRBL into it. It shows you the code, and then it also gives you that three-dimensional view so you can see your fast travel paths and everything else. And I bet if you looked in that code right at the beginning, you would find that it didn't have a setting that it was probably missing for Makerverse.
You said CNC Cookbook?
Yep. Yeah, just go to Cnc Cookbook. They have a bunch of different softwares, and people can look at. But the one I have actually piddled with is, to be honest with you, it's like CNC. It's GRBL for Dummies. It's what they call their GRBL optimizer, I think is the name of it. But you know how you see the list of GRBL code in the Makerverse? What it does is it shows you the code. And then in layman's term, it tells you what that code is. Move right 15 degrees. Right. So it's like simplicity. I can go through and I can look at that code and say, oh, that's where I wanted it to do it, or that's where I want to put my code, right? So try that.
No, so it's basically a code translator is what it is. Just like any software, if you know how to find it, you can find a code translator.
And at the same time, you're learning a lot of the G code.
Yep.
And you're gonna learn, like, if something happens where it messes up right here, well, guess what? You know where that code's at, and you can erase that part of the G code, and it'll start right there.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
So I've also had some weird situations over the last week. Stuff that I actually made an easel, plugged in, and it would randomly. Like at first, I thought it would do weird jitters. That it was so bad that I thought my chain jumped a link. But it wasn't. It was perfectly fine. It was like a random, I don't know if it was a translation when it loaded it. Has anybody experienced that when they're loading the G code into Makerverse to have occasional errors? I mean, it doesn't happen often. It's happened like 3 times over the last month where just random, like it skipped like a line of G code.
One thing I recommend, even with the thing you were talking about just a minute ago with Carbide Create, always look at your console. So when you have that console on the side, you'll get error code. So like if you're in Carbide Create, if you open the console in Carbide Create, so not just modifying your G code, but to see what's happening. Because like when I'm with CNC, I'm actually working with some stuff with Carbide Create right now too. And at least you'll know, hey, it'll be looking for this S code, and you're not getting this S code, or so other things like that. So, but if you're getting a random jitter, I'm wondering if you I don't know.
But when I say it's like random, like, so a lot of what I do is when I build a lot of the stuff is 2D, right? So it's just straight up a through cutout, and doing the business that I'm doing. When a customer wants it, it usually starts like a mass production. All of a sudden, one sees it, and then they want 4 more. And when I say that, like what I was cutting, the latest one was just a wooden fork and a spoon. And I cut it one time, perfect, cut it the next time, and all of a sudden it did a weird jitter. Cut it the third time, it was back to normal. And it was just like a weird thing. I didn't know if anybody had the experience. Like I said, it's only happened like 3 times to me.
Is it hitting a knot in the wood? I'm wondering if you're hitting a knot in the wood or something.
It's plywood. It's plywood, and it literally, like when I say like it was coming around the edge of the fork, right? So the edge of the fork was all smooth. It did the same jitter twice in a row.
Wow.
So the one thing I will say is I have seen the density of my plywood change because plywood
Yeah.
is made up of layered wood and epoxy.
Oh, absolutely.
And sometimes when they have a void in the material, you'll have a big chunk of freaking epoxy right in the middle of your board. And when it's
Yeah.
running, I can actually hear it. You hear the wood cutting, and then it hits
Yeah.
a chunk of epoxy, and and then it keeps on going, right?
Yeah, I thought that might have been way. I just figured I'd go ahead and ask because
Yeah,
another
Well,
time.
if it's in the same spot, it could also be timing. You may have a streaming issue too, because sometimes, like, if your screen's here based on your PC, based on if you're using a Mac or PC or whatnot, you may also have sometimes where that G code streaming to it, though it shouldn't be. But like, let's say you get a pause of your data stream that's streaming to your Arduino, that will also cause
Right.
it. And that, since if it's in the same spot, it'd be a timing issue. So maybe all of a sudden, like, your sleep mode's enabling. So when you started it the last time, it's the same spot, because from when you started to when you walked to when that kicked in, it'd be the same amount of time twice.
Okay.
So that's what I could think of there too. It could be some kind of timing of there, something in there that's causing a timing in your streaming of your G code commands. But
So
Yeah.
we got Robert up here with his hands down. Lauren, was that your last question there?
Well, I don't know, but my machine's running just fine, so I'm just asking for community feedback. So I like to get the best of the best, and I was going to put out a few things a few purchases I've made, recommendations at the end right before everybody got off, because I made some good luck purchases, and I was going to put it out for the community. But yeah, no, go ahead, Robert.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm past the Z-axis. Everything is calibrated and set up. I'm on the edge tab now, and I'm not exactly sure what it's supposed to do. I read the instructions, and if I move it left, if I hit the move or the left move button, it moves it, but the sled hangs off of the left side of the wasteboard.
Okay, so hold on one second. First, can you turn your camera around to your screen? I'll show you. This is actually I think we have, or MakerMade has some work to clarify this. Zoom back just a little bit. We're way too close. There you go. That's good. That's good. So all you're doing here is you have all your points. Imagine that's your 4x8 cutting area, right? So if you move to an area, right, and your sled is still on the board, the edge of your sled is still on the board, then you measure from the edge of your cut board to the edge of your sled, and you put that in as a positive number. If your sled goes past it, then you measure it and it's a negative number.
Okay, I got you.
So that's all you do. Now on your corners, keep in mind, you got two measurements. On like the bottom corner down there, you're going to measure the bottom of the board and off the left-hand side of the board. On the one on the right-hand side of the board, and the bottom of the board.
Gotcha.
You're going to put those numbers in, and when you put those numbers in, it's going to say, calibrate. Do you want to try this? So you'll click yes. It'll ask to confirm, and it'll give you your new calibration number. And what you're going to want to do, this is kind of a pain in the butt, but you're going to say, yeah, accept these numbers, and you're going to do it again, and you're going to do it again. And you're going to see your calibration get better and better because your machine is adjusting those numbers. Okay.
That
Hey,
makes
Robert.
That's awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right.
Hey, Robert, if I can make a recommendation, do the edge once, but don't keep using the edge. Go to the precision. I did the edge probably 20 times, and I was getting so frustrated. You reach that point where you're just like, I just got to put it down and go inside before I smash my machine to bits. But the precision, especially if you put an 1/8 inch bit in, it's so much faster, and it'll because the edge is trying to go off the edge of your sled, right?
Yeah.
And that sled, no matter how good they cut it, it's never gonna be perfect. There's too many variables in it. But that bit, you're automatically down to like 2 millimeters, less than 2 millimeters, right? It's just so much better. I would recommend doing the edge once, but immediately, no matter how bad it is, moving to that precision and starting your cuts with that precision.
Yeah.
That's great advice.
Yeah. Now be careful with using the edge precision. I see your setup back there. You don't have any skirt boards on. So your sled is going to want to go, it's going to try to take that bit and it's going to put it as close to the corner of the board as possible. That's what mine
So
does.
you can do your offset. So if you look at it, you can do your offset. I did mine with you probably have a square, right? And a standard square, like even if it's in inches, you know your instant calibration, and you can also pop that on there. So I actually I have a 12-inch square, one of my larger squares, and I made the exact marks with one of my metric rulers on it. I actually attached a metric ruler to my square because I couldn't find a metric square, and that's how I did it. So that way I could bump it real quick, do the measurements. Because when you look at that screen, you say you can tell it how far from the edge you want it to go. If you look at that, and so don't put it at 0. I put it at 25, or I put it at 250.4, right? Which is, or 254, I think it is, right? Which is 10 inches. My math right in my head. Sorry, I'm obviously not doing the math right, but yeah. And then it's just a quick check, like how far off from that am I using a caliper?
Totally. Okay. What is
Lauren,
so
Lauren, you should.
What do you
put
mean
that-
I don't
should
have a
post that.
skirt board? What's that mean?
I apologize, I missed that. What was that?
You mentioned that I don't have a skirt board. What does that mean?
Here, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see you.
Can you see my setup?
Yep.
You see the board that goes all the way around it?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
what that is that's an extra 6 inches past my cut board.
Yeah.
That if I want to cut right up to the edge of my cut board, there's
Got
still
it.
something out there to support the sled so it doesn't tilt. And
Okay.
what I do is I have a double skirt all the way around. So whenever I put up my plywood, it fits just in there like a glove, and it's
Right.
smooth all the way around, and it holds my board up there.
Okay. All right. I got you.
So another option, that's Casey makes a great point, because I don't want to take away from Casey because he's kind of brilliant. But the way I did it as the poor man, right, does it is I actually got a whole bunch of leftover sheets of plywood, because I'm constantly varying from a 1/4 inch thick to a 3/4 inch to a 1/2 inch, and constantly varying depending on what the business needs, right?
Right.
So what I ended up doing is getting a whole bunch of like 24-inch pieces, and use of painter tape. You tilt I'll try to explain. You basically tilt the board in, right? Sorry, I'm not showing it correctly. And you apply that painter's tape on that gap, and then when it leans back against it, kind of locks in. And at first I was like, I'll give it a shot. If it doesn't work and it tilts off and it damages, we'll see. But so far, I've been able to max out my boards using that, just a 24-inch by 6-inch edge on painter's tape, because it's not very often you're cutting all the way up against the edge.
Right.
It's just on occasion. So it works great for me. And the painter's tape, the thickness of that painter's tape is so thin, it rarely affects the tilt of the sled.
Okay.
And plus the
Right on.
bit cuts right through without a problem. It's a method that works for me as a poor man's solution.
Okay.
Lauren, you should post some photos of doing that and show that to other folks on the Facebook page, because
Yeah, I apologize.
Simple solution, right? Simple solution. Yeah.
You mentioned that I was actually driving earlier. That's why it took me a minute to get on. I'm just kind of listening in. And I guess I just never realized that Facebook page was there, because I was going to ask today, like, recommended place to drop tips, because I was going to show this. I don't know if y'all have seen that micro attachment from Home Depot. It's like $15 with tax. The reason why I say is I don't have a great compressor or anything, but I got a couple of shop vacs, and it is great for getting in. Like anytime you're cutting with a 1/8 inch bit, right? Especially like if you get into MDF, that dust doesn't want to come out. Like it wants to kind of get stuck in there. The attachments on this thing get right down into an 1/8 inch cut and suck it right out. Or you can put it on, a shop vac will blow as well. It'll blow it right out. As long as you have your dust collection there, it'll suck it right up. It's great. It's like the best $15 I've spent in a minute. And I was surprised how well it's just great at blowing it out, because a lot of times MDF, it was always a struggle. There's always left behind, and it does very well for me.
Yeah, go ahead and post it on the Facebook page, and post a video if you can of how it's used.
Yeah, I was actually trying to pull it up earlier, but I was like, I probably shouldn't be trying to do this and driving. And I got distracted as soon as I got here.
No worries. Yeah, well, we got to get going. We got to cut it short. If you have any questions, go ahead and if you all aren't on the Facebook group, go ahead and join the Facebook group. We have a lot of people on there that actually do help. Casey's one of them. Casey, actually, I have a couple of questions for you, so you can go ahead and stay on real quick. So if y'all have any other questions, just go ahead and send us a message to support@makerme.com. All right.
I just want to say real quick, I posted the pictures of my scaffold on Facebook.
Awesome.
Thank you guys.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
thank you.
Yeah, it looks like Dan, there he goes.
There you go. All right. All right, Casey. Hey, I had a question for you, or actually, we're gonna be doing the forums. I don't know if they has anybody told you about the forums?
Rooms?
Yeah, we're gonna start a forum.
Uh-uh.
So we're gonna start a forum, and we want a lot of more more users. So we're gonna start posting on those forums that we have. It's actually really public to everyone, but we don't use them. So we want to start posting that. Yes, of course, on Facebook, but we're gonna try to start leading a lot of people towards the forum. And you have a lot of knowledge, So if you can start posting on the forum, would be amazing. Whenever you have time, you know what I mean. Posting different things that that people helpful things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you just have to show me where the forums are. I mean, I can.
I'll send you. I'll send you the link, and I'll send you the link and all that. So, and then because we were talking about that, and so of course you and a lot of other users too. But you're one of the main ones, and I tried to actually. Give me 1 second. Let's see.